The Nokhud Offensive is one of the new dungeons in World of Warcraft's latest expansion of Dragonflight. This dungeon is unlike any that have come before, incorporating the new dragon riding to deliver amazing vistas and a new way to experience the action. Come with us as we discover the lore and story, and stay to the end to hear some of the explanation and speculation on how this fits into the greater story of Warcraft. So come, take a seat by the fire. Civil war has gripped the centaur clans of the Ohn'ahran plains. The spirit of the wild god Ohn'ahra has been captured. Seen as more than a mere spirit, and by most of the centaurs she is worshipped as a goddess. This vile act has thrown their entire civilization into chaos. Clan Nokhud's hatred for the outsiders has driven them to madness. Allying with the primalists, they summoned the ancient elements and even raised their ancestral dead to join the fray. A call is sounded for any adventurers who can put a stop to this madness, to stop their leader and end the offensive before it tears the very isles themselves apart. Immediately, the sound of battle resounds across the plains. The skies crack as metal and magic clash. Our adventurers feel immediately overwhelmed. So much destruction to try and stop. But where to start? In their hesitation, it seems the choice was made for them. In the skies, a great proto-worm is soaring. His name is Granith. His shadow is an omen of death to the clans of Maruk. He sees that an ancient enemies have fallen to infighting, and senses the time is now to take revenge. He will soon land and hasten their demise. However, the centaurs have fought in countless battles against these proto-dragons for longer than can be imagined. They are prepared, with enchanted wind ballista to fell this ancient foe. But first, a sacrifice must be made. Our party of adventurers must hold the dragon at bay on the front lines. They must become the shield, to hold long enough so the spear may strike. This is no easy feat, as he turns the very earth against them. Shockwaves and tectonic shifts threaten to unbalance our party, but they hold fast, and eventually the battle is won. Gathering themselves, they press on, but the elements do not relent. The sky has grown dark, and the winds begin to gather. Flashes and cracks of lightning and storm begin to smash down all around them. Centauran stormcasters have gathered and are uniting their magic to unleash a devastating elemental. This elemental's power knows only destruction, and it begins to ravage and scar the land around it. If the spell is completed, there will be no stopping it, from breaking the isles apart and bringing back the primordial chaos that once reigned. There is one chance, however. Our adventurers collect some of the nascent elemental energy from this being. channeling it through themselves into a surge of power. The pain that this process induces is a price they must pay, and the only way to abate the elements. That battle took too long. It gave the enemy time to work even more foul magics. Suddenly, the sweet and sickly scent of death fills the air as it begins to settle. A dark, necromantic ritual was performed under the order of Balakar Khan, the leader of the Nokhud. This dark, twisted magic has roused the ancient spirits of two of the tribe's greatest warriors. The founder of all the centaur clans on the Dragon Isles, Maruk, and his mate, Tira. Their memories are full of torment and grief, and it blinds them to the true enemy. They have become enslaved to their fury. Only the thrill of combat has the chance to shock the spirits back to their senses. This will prove not so easy. These legendary warriors live up to their name, working in a perfect unison. But the realm of the living no longer holds the same sway, and they fade much quicker than our adventurers. Perhaps now they can receive the eternal rest that they truly deserve. It is here, at last, the Khan Balakar is sighted. His rage would bid him to rend our adventurers asunder and spit upon their graves, and he charges headfirst into battle to do just that. Aided by his Stormcaster lieutenants, he will use the power he has siphoned from the wild god to make him a truly formidable threat. This dungeon is filled with story and action. While on the surface it may seem simple, that the xenophobia and fear from one of the more tyrannical leaders gave way, as it does much of the time with centaurs, to their more aggressive impulses. However, it gives us a glimpse into centaur culture like we have never seen before, and how their symbiotic relationship with the green dragonflight emerged. The first thing to note is found once again in the quests leading up to the dungeon itself. In their histories, the green dragonflight and the Maruk centaur clans were once embittered enemies. But it was actually the shared threat of the proto-dragons that caused them to form a defensive pact, and thus letting them coexist peacefully. This proto-dragon threat was likely the war against the primal incarnates that raged in the early days of the Age of Dragons. Green dragons, however, have always sued for peace above all else, a trait they garnered from their aspect Ohn'ahra. It is this same peace that is being reformed after the dragons and their outsider allies return from a long absence to rebuild. With the outsiders showing such courage and good faith in helping to quell a civil war that would have seen the clans brought to ruin, and in helping to free their goddess, we may have just earned ourselves some of the greatest allies. This will allow the green dragonflight to reclaim their seat of power without the threat of centaur attacks. It is here they can rebuild, and hopefully choose a new aspect. Or, if recent reveals are to be believed, we may have the return of one. It also shows just how deep the old hatreds run between Proto-Dragon and other races. We have barely begun to scratch the surface on what really happened in this war, as the dragons don't really like sharing information with us mortals. We have so many conflicting reports that it is hard to disseminate the truth. So any insight into the War of the Scaleborn is invaluable. The centaurs viewed the primal incarnates as a threat. So much so they allied with another species. This backs up information that the incarnates not only wanted their freedom from the Titans, but they wanted all other races to bow before them and their strength. Whether they were wrong, or right, or some mix of the two is a conversation for another time. We here at the campfire believe the centaur have a bigger part to play than they, or we, realise in the events to come. You may also be aware that we stayed clear of the complicated history and timeline of these centaurs in relation to the other tribes that we know of. We do have a video coming out soon that will explain all of this. And if you're watching this in the future, we will have it linked in the top right and in the description. So, do you feel we missed something? Or if you just want to share your opinion, we would love to hear it. Feel free to let us know in the comments or even on our Discord. Maybe you found the missing piece of the puzzle of Dragonflight. And don't forget to come back anytime.